I would believe that many of you will have many questions that you will want to ask the minister. You will probably have some comments that you would want to make. And from my conversations with him, I have found him to be a most pleasant person to converse with. He's very serene, and he's very much interested in hearing all that we have to say. So I won't take up very much more time. I understand that he is on the way now, and when he arrives, we will ask him to say just a few words to us to possibly prick our thoughts or our minds, and after he has done that, we will then have an opportunity to visit with him via questions, answers, and comments. We would also want to, if at all possible, talk about what it is that we can do in our city after the minister leaves to make our city a much better place for us to live in. And I don't mind putting emphasis on the for us. If you know me and my reputation, you know that I stand for us, and I hope that they will stand for themselves, and they usually do. So let us talk today about what we can do to help us to, if you like, overcome. But certainly we don't want to continue to get over on each other. And hopefully we will be able to talk about the things that we can do after the minister leaves. Now, many of you don't know each other, and while he is coming, let us take this opportunity to introduce ourselves to each other. I think that's extremely important because we have some real heavyweights here. In more ways than one. But you might not know it, but we have some heavyweights here. We have some brothers who've been on the line for a long time. And we want to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves, and when they tell you what they're involved in, you'll understand why I contend that they're heavyweights. Right. So without further ado, let's go ahead now and start. We'll start over here to my right, and let this brother start, and then go on down that way, and then we'll come back to the top and start over here with brother. If you would, please.
George Steiner from Brooklyn, New York, and my involvement is the National Black Police Association.
All right. I'm Jim Hargrove. I'm the national chairman of the National Black Police Association. My paycheck comes from New York City Police Department as a sergeant.
Matthew Como, president of the local branch of the National Police Officers Association, the African American Police Officers.
I'm Esther King, taxi driver, and local hell raiser, I guess. Local hell raiser.
I'm a taxi driver also, and I'm working with the Northwest Conference.
Yes, sir.
I work with Brother King here.
Right. Okay, my name is Janet Abu-Mom. I'm a student at Texas University in Industrial Technology. I work with Northwest Conference.
My name is Kenneth Cole. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm from the old number 23. I'm Minister John B. Minister John B. was the
I'm John Baldwin of Houston, Harlem, Florida.
All right, Brother String.
My name is Floyd Stringfellow. I'm principal at Magdade Elementary School, Houston Independent School District.
Ernest McGowan, Vice President of the PTA at Magdade School.
Alan X. I'm self-employed, and I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois.
Anthony X, factory worker, St. Louis, Missouri.
Brother Sebastian X, Social Muhammad in Atlanta, Georgia.
Beautiful. Now, let me just say this. Some of our friends are somewhat modest, and they don't want to say all of the things about themselves that should be said.
Right.
And I would want to just talk about one or two of them. And I will start with the person that I refer to as the colored councilman. That is Ernie McGowan. Ernie has proven to be the conscience of the city council. He is the person on the city council who makes sure that black issues, it seems, are properly talked about when there are others who would have them not talked about at all. And I want to say that because Ernie doesn't get the kind of credit that he deserves for much of what he does on the city council. There are other persons who are a little bit slicker, and they get a little bit more note. But I think that Ernie has truly proven himself as a conscience for the black community on that city council. And I think we're fortunate to have Ernie there.
Judge, I'd like to say something else about Ernest. Ernest is also a past member of the Board of Education of Houston, where he worked for years as a board member in the Houston Independent School District. And he was really rather vocal on behalf of black boys and girls. And also at the school where I work, we have some members of the Nation of Islam, which he has worked very close with, the young kids there in the school. So Mac has proved to us that he's concerned about all facets of black children in the public education also.
Beautiful.
May I make an announcement?
Yes. What are you running for now, Ernie? You paid string off.
No, what I want to say, Sergeant Como can testify to this. My office is open at any time for any problem, for any research that we need done on problems. We can get into any department. Just a letter from me. We get in there and find out about the black problem. We've got the black minds. We've got the black. When I say black minds, I mean they're oriented toward our problem. And I welcome you to come anytime to my office and come in and accept the dignity that you have won by being one of the black soldiers. So what I'm saying is, and Judge Green can tell you this, we're fighting on every front, and this is one that I respect most, is where we can come together, right? You understand, and plan our own strategies.
Beautiful. I would want to make a comment about another brother who is very close to us here locally, and that is Brother Anthony Como. Anthony either has to be a very sincere and dedicated brother or an out-and-out fool. I don't like to think that he's an out-and-out fool, although although I'm sure that his boss, the chief, who received some very, very sound words of wisdom last evening, would want to say that. He really would. How are you, friends? I was just saying a few words, Minister, about some of the persons that we have assembled. They've all introduced themselves to each other. And I've indicated that at the conclusion we're going to ask you to make just a few comments as food for thought, and then we will have questions and comments, and then we will talk about what we in Houston can possibly do to help ourselves to solve some of our problems, since it is pretty obvious to us now that no one else is going to solve them for us but us. But I was talking about Brother Como, who's with the Afro-American Police Officers Association, giving some information on him. This brother, who works for the police chief that you and I have talked about, has taken a stand for our people within the police department and without the police department. And I don't think that we can ever be grateful enough to Anthony and to his organization for the effort, the concerted effort that it has made to cause some scintilla of justice to come to an adjunct police department. Also, we have the president of the National Black Police Officers Association with us, Jimmy, and that's Jimmy right there, the heavyweight in the middle. How you doing? Jimmy has been on the line. He's a little older than he looks. He's been on the line a long time, and I had the privilege of meeting Jimmy in Philadelphia. We were attending a conference, and we raised a lot of hell together. I tell you, we had a good time there. And if you want to meet a brother who is a real hellraiser, who believes in telling it like it is, regardless as to who it hurts, you have Jimmy Hargrove here, and he's willing to do that. Of course, I have to say something about Brother King, because Brother King is one of our local organizers. He has great organizational skills. He is a brother who has demonstrated through the years that he has the courage to confront the enemy overtly, on his own ground, on whatever terms necessary. He survived the 60s, he survived the shootings on Dowling Street, and he still lives to share with us his ability to help us to organize, and is presently very much involved in that on the local level. And one person who came late that did not have a chance to introduce himself, certainly I would be very much derelict if I did not say something about this particular individual, because he's a very good friend of mine. And I don't use that word too often, because you don't have a lot of friends. And this person is indeed a very good friend of mine. He was not at the meeting, the assembly last night, but he intended to be there. Other things kept him from coming. But Dr. Brantley, and that's who I'm talking about now, has demonstrated to us that he has the courage to bring the truth to our people. And it's very unfortunate that his courageous position has caused him a slight inconvenience at this time. He's been fired. But he will overcome that slight inconvenience because of his dedication to us. And I would want to think that we will not let a brother who would be so courageous as to play an album by Minister Farrakhan that was not being played all over the city, but it was being played at one other station. He played that album, and that album, along with other things, has caused him the inconvenience that I mentioned. I'm pleased to have him with us, and certainly as we progress, I'm sure he'll have some things to say in terms of his comments and questions. Without further ado now from us, yes.
I'd like to say that this man here has got a school that trains young black leaders, starting them at 5 years old. And when they come out, they will be a part of what we're going on right here. Now, he's fought the system to try to survive. But these youngsters, just go by there. You'll be very, very proud of what this man is doing. That's Dr. Floyd Stringfellow.
That's fantastic. Dr. Stringfellow is my neighbor, and I'm very pleased to know that. I didn't know that, Doctor. And we appreciate that paid political advertisement. Okay, I will come by though. But without further ado, I'd like to at this time ask you, if you would, to stand and receive Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Please not stand.
Not
No.
stand. He's a very modest person, he's a most magnificent person to visit with, and you will find, as we converse with him this morning, that it's almost like having a brother who has been away to come back and to sit and counsel with you about his travels. That is the way I have felt when I have talked to him. So without standing then, let us just sit and receive him, as he would say just a few words.
Brothers, and the sister was back there. First, it's really a great privilege and honor to be in your midst and to meet some of the powerful minds that are in Houston. I feel very humbled by the response that we've received since being here. And the brother who first played the record, where is he? Yes. I just wanted to say thank you. And I do believe that those of us who make a stand for what we believe is right, we have to pay some kind of price. Sometimes it's more than we had anticipated. But in the end, it all is worth it if we don't allow ourselves to get beaten down by ourselves. The spirit that I have this morning makes me feel to say to you that to win the struggle for black liberation, you know, we may have some charismatic person or some speaker or teacher, but in reality, it's never going to be won by an individual. It's going to be won by those of us who recognize our need for one another. I may be blessed in one area of knowledge, but my brothers are blessed in other areas of knowledge. And where I'm ignorant, my brother is wise. So my ignorance is hidden in my brother's wisdom if I only have the wisdom to recognize that I have a brother. And this is why it is more important today for us to build a brotherhood among ourselves that recognizes and respects the gifts and the talents and the energies of each other. That we recognize that there is no need among us for us to contend with each other for honors and for glory and for recognition, but that if we contend with the system, it will bring out of us all the rich deposit that is in us, and the glory is never individual. We only can be, if I may use the term, glorified when the people are truly free. Now, as I started to say, I feel the Spirit to say these words, that those of us who struggle sincerely for the good of our people, who have lasted over any period of time, have had to confront the bitterness of being rejected and hated and despised and maligned and vilified by our own brothers and sisters for whom and in whose behalf we work. We expect this from the system that we oppose for justice. But it's very hard when you get it from people in your own family, in your own organization, among our friends. And if we are to weather the storm, we must, I think, understand that we are living in a time that Jesus prophesied, if I may use this prophecy, that there would be wars and rumors of wars. There would be pestilence, there would be famine, there would be earthquakes in diverse places, and nation would rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. We see that all around us. But then it says, these are the beginnings of sorrows. And then the thing that comes behind that is, brother is going to deliver up brother, to be scourged in the synagogues and in the temples, and you shall be hated of all men for my sake. And I think if we understand that some scholars say that when they say this is the beginning of sorrows, some scholars call it the beginning of birth pangs. And whenever there are birth pains, this is to say that something new is coming to birth. And what it's signifying is a whole new order, a new world order is coming to birth out of the old. And the birth pangs that bring this new world order into existence is revolution, war, pestilence, famine. And as this thing begins to wreak havoc on nations and people, then the final analysis, when those who struggle for this new order, and a new order just means an order based in justice and in truth and in equity, not just in the word but in the deed. when those of us who live to produce that kind of order, whether we are Muslim or Christian or Baptist or agnostic, we need an order based in justice. And we need to develop the moral strength to live by principles that make us brothers. So, in this hour in which we live, brothers are going to betray one another. And the scripture says that they of a man's own household will be his worst enemy. And I think with that as a backdrop, I would encourage the magnificent minds that are present to persevere and not let the internal thing weaken you and make you believe that niggas ain't worth, excuse the expression, fighting for, that our cause is not worth the sacrifice. I can truly say to you, my brothers and sisters, that I feel that it is a privilege to labor and to suffer for the rise of our people. And it is more than a privilege to die in the cause of the liberation of our people. I don't have a martyr complex, but it's going to take an awful lot of martyrs until freedom is won. And if you have traveled either through reading or through physical traveling to these countries that have won their freedom, you will see that they have many pictures of slain men and women who are the martyrs who brought about the liberation of that country. And I think it would be foolish for us to think that we're not going to have to make some kind of sacrifice. So brother lost a job, but he didn't lose his life. He didn't lose his gift or his talent. So we still have brother. And as long as we've got health and strength and a sound mind, brother, we'll always make money to feed ourselves another day. So I just would stop at that point, and I just love to hear from you and to get acquainted with you. Thank you very much.
Would you do this in posing your question or comment, give your name so that the minister will know to whom he's speaking, and so that it will be properly recorded also? Who would want to be first?
Yes, sir.
My name is Elliot Mines. I have a question. I won't say the balance of significance, but I think it is significant that I raise this question. In the Jerusalem Post, within the last 2 weeks, the Israeli government has expelled some black Hebrew Israelites that were from New York and Chicago. And I would like to know, from your conversation with ICL Ben Israel, what is the current situation in that part of southern Israel at this time?
I talked with Nasi Asiel Ben Israel not more than 24 hours ago. As you know, the Hebrew Israelites, if you don't know, are a group of black people from the United States who feel and believe that when the scriptures talk of the chosen people of God under the name Israel, that it is referring to the black people in America and our sojourn in this country. These brothers and sisters migrated to Israel after spending some time in Liberia. When they went to Israel, they settled in Dimona, Mitzpe Ramon, in Arad. Brother and I were blessed to visit the brothers and sisters in Israel in 1978, in the month of September. I can only tell you my findings. Being a Muslim, but being sympathetic to our people who believe in God, regardless to what that persuasion may be, I saw a very beautiful community of clean, upright, men and women who were struggling against very great odds to survive in Israel. Recently, I think it's a Mr. Berg or Mr. Glass, commissioned a study, a 20-month study on the Hebrew Israelites, and the recommendation was that they be given a land and granted all the rights and privileges of other citizens of Israel. However, Mr. Glass, I think, said he would go against his report, and a Mr. Berg has asked for the expulsion of the Hebrew Israelites. The Caucasians are very clever at the manipulation of our minds through the mass media, and they are beginning to refer to the group as a Jonestown cult. And they are beginning to label the group as a group of criminals and whatnot, so that they can possibly isolate the Hebrew Israelites and then do to them what they would like to do. Yesterday, I believe, Asiel Ben Israel and the Hebrew Israelites held a press conference in Washington, D.C., while Begin was meeting with Jimmy Carter, and that press conference had the backing of several distinguished black brothers, sisters, and organizations to say that while we may not religiously agree on all points with the Hebrew Israelites, we agree that they have the right to live in Israel if they so choose, and that Israel, which is supported by tax dollars, which are black folks' tax dollars too, should not turn on black people who are a peaceful people. They are not armed. They have gone about trying to survive under the worst conditions in Israel. And they are no burden to the society. They are working hard to be self-sufficient. I want to say to you, my dear brothers and sisters, that Jews in America like to identify with us and tell us that they are our friends because they suffer too. But the truth of the matter is they have backed our movements when it was to their best interest. The truth of the matter is if they were friendly to us, they would have shown us how to turn our frustration and despair and hopelessness into productivity, as they did when they were segregated against in Miami and then bought it out. They would show us how to use our money properly. But they only become our friends when they need us for something. And I think the Hebrew Israelites in Israel highlight the contradiction of Jews that say they are the friends of black people. I hope that.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, brother.
Mr. Farrakhan, my name is Kenneth Corley. My question is, why, after so many years of being free, we black people from all walks of life, from the hierarchy all the way down to the grassroots, still think and believe that we got to vote for white folks every time we want somebody to do something for us? It's got to be Jimmy Carter or Ronald Reagan or whoever. Why do we still feel that we have to vote for white people to run our lives, to lead our lives?
I think this has largely been true, though in recent years we see a desire on the part of black voters to want to see their own people in these positions of authority. My dear brothers and sisters, we must remember that we have been conditioned for hundreds of years to think as we think. And the conditioning is so deep, in our subconscious mind that even when the conscious mind would do something progressive, the subconscious mind militantly objects. And so it's going to take a tremendous program of re-education to get our people out of the centuries of a psychological abuse that we have endured. It is absolutely a miracle to see black people doing anything with respect to working with one another with the way we've been taught and trained. I just would say very quickly, this self-rejection starts in the womb. I mean, you can't get any deeper start in self-rejection than to start in the womb. Our poor black women, when they carry their black babies, because of the condition that we are in as black men and our mistreatment of our women, and not realizing that when a woman is pregnant for us, that is the time that she inclines toward us more than at any other time. And that's the time when we should be the most careful and wise and considerate in handling her. And unfortunately, that's the time when we become most abusive. We are around less because this country has made us see women in terms of a physical form. And when they begin to lose their physical form as they are fashioning new life, they become rather unattractive to us. And in our rejection of them, they reject the new life. And so the new life is seeded and marked with leanings toward self-rejection. Then the child comes into a home. Most of the time there is no man. Born into a white world with several strikes against it. It goes to school and it learns about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and Goldilocks. And then a little subtle thing is dropped about Black Sambo. So the child recognizes it is not Snow White. And it does not have any Goldilocks. And therefore the rejection of self is reinforced. And as the child moves through the educational process and gets into the study of history, since the nature of the human being is to respect freedom and to reject slavery, when you first see yourself, you see yourself in American history as a slave, so the rejection process is reinforced. Then you go to church and you're being taught of a Savior, but they paint the Savior as white. And they tell you when you see the Son, you see the Father. So that means that God is white, the Son is white, and you black. And wondering why you catching hell in a white establishment. Maybe this white Savior will deliver me from these white beasts that are tormenting me. So you're being taught from a cradle. Your little Christmas is coming up. And our people are going out telling their children, after you scuffle all year long and get a little bit of money and go in debt to get them a little gift for Christmas, then you give the credit to some big fat white man who comes down the chimney and don't even get black from the soot that's in the chimney. So what you're teaching your child is, if you want something out of life, white folks got to give it to you. If you want a job, go to the white man. If you want help, go to the white man. If you want to be saved, go to the white man. If you want to be ruled by the white man. And that's why when you see the image of Jesus as a Caucasian, blonde head, blue eyed, which he never looked like that. And then we preach in the church, rule on King Jesus, that Jesus is the king of our kingdom. That's saying in your subconscious mind, the white man is the born king and ruler, not only in the world, but in my mind. So when a black man comes up saying, vote for me, my subconscious said, nigga, what are you doing entering into my mind? See? And when a black man tries to teach you something, that same thing is in your mind, which makes you reject your own kind. And so the whole thing has been set up for you to reject truth. If truth comes from a black man, we turn it down. We buy in the north a white man's ice because his ice is colder than a black man's. Got to be. We'll buy oil from the white oil man because his oil will heat our home better. We'll buy from the white contractor because he's naturally a better builder. That thing is in us. And it's going to take now a process of re-education. And even we have to be wise to subliminal suggestion and constantly plant the images in the subconscious mind of our youth that black folk can do. We can build. We can do everything that everyone else is doing. And that's why black history is so important to be taught to our young people. And here, a brother that has a school, and he's training youngsters at 5 years old. I know he's seeding their minds with a proper image of themselves so that they will grow up, not with the problem that you just articulated. But it's going to take time and all of us working together on the problem to overcome it. But it's deep rooted. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I don't have a question per se. I feel compelled to make a comment, though, that's in my mind. As you well know, in the chemical world, when two or more agents come together, usually there's needed in order to form a reaction, a desired reaction, a catalyst. And I'd like to say that in the few preceding months in Houston, those chemical agents have been groping, trying to come together. And I think that indeed last night, you were the agent that would probably cause the reaction of a positive mood on the part of some black folk in this city. And I think that's manifest today. Some of us are getting together who have not been together in a while. Also, I'd like to say that with respect to the Honorable late Elijah Muhammad, that it would behoove any black person in this country to look closely at information that we're given in this framework. We should wonder or look at those people who have gone before as leaders, who has talked about the least. Out of all of the coming from VC, Sojourner Truth, people that some black youngsters know about, of all of the people who have sacrificed and dedicated their lives to our betterment, there are two who stand out that the least is known about. One is the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Two, and who of course came on the scene at the turn of the century. Two is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was with us in the flesh just a few years ago, but who we know the least about, who the white man, in terms of the TV, the books, the whole thing, has put out the least amount of information on. That's not accidental. The person that he wants you to talk about the least is the person that you should study the most. Because it is actually, this thing that we live in this country is in reverse. We're looking at a film that's going backward. In other words, when the white man says red, we should look for green. When he says black, we should look for white. When he says white, we should look for black. Just the opposite of what, because it's like a slick crap shooter. It's just the opposite of what he said, is what you should look at. And if he has written many books on the life of Malcolm, if he has written many books on the life of Martin Luther King, if he has made movies about certain folk, if he has put certain things on TV, then you find out who he's not talking about. And you'll be right on time. Right on the beat.
Brother, I just want to say how much on time your statement was and is. Because anytime a Georgia-born man who only went to the 3rd grade of school met another man, he didn't say he met a spirit. He met a man, and that man taught him for 3 years and 4 months and went away. And little Elijah stood up and told us events to come, and we have seen every word he says come right down the pike. That man from Georgia told us what they would find on the moon when they got there, told us of life on other planets, and now their scientists are coming up with witness to what he already taught us. But because of our, going back to your question, dear brother, our hatred for self, we do not believe that God thinks enough of black folk to ever raise somebody up among us as he did other suffering people of the past. So God could set a fountain of living water right down in our midst, and we would walk over it because we have been so well trained to hate ourselves and then to mock one another if we do not have the credentials from Texas Southern or some other fine university. While Elijah Muhammad did not have the credentials in terms of a diploma on the wall, he had credentials in terms of the work that he did. Now this is his work here. We are clean men who fell in the mud. And he called us out of that mud once and cleaned us up. I tell you, it's a modern day miracle. I smoked reefers. Well, I don't have to tell you what I did. We are brothers. That's all I need to say. We're brothers. And you know what I did because you know what you did. Maybe still do it. I don't know. But I mean, this man caused me to stand erect, morally correct, where I would not take advantage of a black woman. I mean, look, this is a miracle inside America. He didn't do this in Iran or in Saudi Arabia, where people, you don't hardly see a woman disrobed. When you see her, you hardly know what you're looking at, because she's clothed and covered completely. But here, for us to live right in the midst of all this wrong, to turn down the reefer, to stop smoking, to stop drinking, look, to be true and loyal to our families to the best of our abilities. I'm not saying that we didn't slip. No, that would be a lie. But we were trying. And here we were, people from the prisons, from the alleys, not from the colleges and universities. We were the ignorant of the people that were the worst of the people. Some of us were killers, some of us crap shooters, some of us pimps and hustlers of every kind. And Mr. Muhammad took us, cleaned us up, and made us set up schools, hospital, farm, factories, get involved in international trade. The man was absent. Now, genius don't describe his brilliance, but the beauty of the man was that he laid it all out in a blueprint, and then he left. Now, I think, as you said, it behooves us not to be converted, but just to study. You mean this black man was able to do this being opposed by the government, opposed by the church, opposed by his own people, misunderstood by friends and potential friends and enemies, hated, and he accomplished all of this, built us from nothing? to own about 70 to 80 million dollars worth of property? Oh man, he needs to be studied. Because if he could do this without the benefit of the intellectuals of our people, what could this man have done if some of the brilliant minds that are seated around this table only understood what he was all about? I'm going to close that remark by saying this. He always told me, he said, brother, go after the intellectuals. He said, remember, brother, in the history of Prophet Muhammad, he says it was not until the learned people understood what he was about that they took his program and they put it over overnight. And what he was telling me is, yes, we are sincere, but if we don't have the intellectual capacity and training, we may be sincere, but we can't do the job. But you are not only sincere, but you have the training. All we need is a blueprint of action. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad laid it out. And if we just take it up and run with it, we could put our people at work, to work. Within the next 5 years, we wouldn't have any unemployment among us if we followed the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the program that he laid down for us. So you're right, brother. And that's why we become dangerous. Because we want to lift his name up to get our people to thinking about him again. And that's what they don't want. Thank you, brother. Now, yes, sir. We are in 76 cities across the country, organizing daily, working very, very hard, and by the help of Allah, we will surface February 1981. This will mean 3.5 years of underground preparation. And when we surface, I will be able to talk more about the organizational part of it. I don't want to expose it before time. I think, as I said last night, one of the failures of black organizations is that they always want to have a press conference and expose their idea to light before it is even formed, and then wonder why our ideas never come to fruition. So we have decided that since life begins in the dark and then comes out in the light, and even the mother who is pregnant doesn't know she's pregnant until she sees a sign. This stuff is going on so smooth. So we believe, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, if we follow the general laws of nature, we will be very successful. So we cover up our organizational workings, our underground workings. But when we surface, we will have the root to give us the stability that we need, and then we can talk about what was, because it's already firm, in place, and we don't think our enemies will be able to uproot it.
Will it be Muslims of all colors, or just black?
No, I don't know about no Muslims of all colors. I don't know nothing about that, brother. Unless it's you and me, black and brown and high yellow and tees and tan. I'm going to make a statement. I don't want no brotherhood with other people before we are able to achieve brotherhood among ourselves. The thing that we always do is run and try to pick up a Mexican brother.
That's right.
We won't pick up a Puerto Rican brother. We want to pick up an Arab brother. But we won't go next door to win brotherhood among ourselves, because that's the most difficult. When you know, so yes, there are Muslim brothers all over the world. And I believe we will get their help. But I want, by Allah's grace, a brotherhood first established among us that will give us leverage, so that if we develop brotherhood with others, we will not be in danger of being taken over by much more organized and powerful groups. Right now, if we formed an alliance with Mexican Americans, the Mexican Americans are much more organized and cohesive than we are. And because of their unity and their cohesiveness, they will be able to do more with their unity than we with our disunity. Even when the white man invited us to the table of integration, all we brought was our black face. We didn't bring leverage to the table, so we couldn't bring about the change that would make things better for us. So we need to start at home and then work abroad. And I would much rather, dear brother, have unity with you and us in this room and our black people who are Christians and Hebrew Israelites and of all kinds of persuasions. Let us sit down and see where principally we can agree and then structure ourselves to maximize our strengths. Then we won't be in danger of uniting with anyone and coming out a loser. Yes, sir, my brother.
Well, this is different from the transition that has taken place with the original Elijah Muhammad Muslim.
Yes, sir. What we are, this that is called transition is not transition. You know, transition is an outgrowth from and a movement toward, but the root remains the same. You know, we evolved from a sperm, but in the evolutionary process, at nowhere does the next stage repudiate the first stage of its development. But with this new movement of Muslims, there is a repudiation of Elijah Muhammad and all that he stood for and taught. And so that, to me, is not a transition, but the word transition was used, in my judgment, deceitfully to make the Muslims think they were going on to a higher level of development, while if we study their activities and their actions and their mentality, we see a regression back into the laps of white people, beggars of bread from the doorstep of our enemy. So those of us who love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who felt uncomfortable with this quote-unquote transition, feel that we want to revive the teachings, the work, and the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's what we are about. Yes, sir.
We three here, sitting here, police officers, there's a problem with that we grapple with almost every time we meet, and that is having a sense of dedication to our people. We realize that the police has always been used, the department as itself has always been used as an enforcer. And we look up, and 15 or 50 years later, we are part of that society, trying to obtain as high as rank as we possibly can. And I would like to put out to you that, how do you feel about, what do you think would be a good solution in we as black policemen who are black, who are not blue, who's a part of the system now, who's really people, some of us who people avoid even though we are black. And I don't want to ask you a specific question because I feel like you probably have some more thoughts on it other than that question.
Yes.
Just some general.
My dear brothers, you're in a very, very difficult position. Because as you stated, the police department, the law enforcement of the United States of America, as reflected in the police departments throughout the country, are mainly brute force units that do all the things that police are supposed to do in the white community, but are brutally oppressive in the black community. Historically, when white people get a black woman or man on the police force, they get that type of mentality that wants to be near whites, wants to show whites that I hate niggas just as much as you do. And if there's ever a confrontation between us and the niggas, you don't have to shoot them niggas. I do it for you. And that's the kind of black man that we in the black community, and you too, have experienced on the police force up until recently. And a new kind of mentality is coming into some black officers, where they really want to use their position of authority to aid the community, to protect the community, and of course to clean up the community. Those that think like you think are in the minority, unfortunately. In the police department, you are renegades, and you are evil spoken of, and the new ones that come on the force are told to stay away from those niggas. They got some black thing, and they're militants, and you know how they poison the minds of the new recruits. All over the country, I have met black police officers who are really sincere, and those brothers are known by the community. I'm sure the community knows you. And but there is going to come a time, and it won't be too long from now, probably within the next 3 years, where there will be all-out confrontation between the community and the police. And at that time, you will be forced to say where you stand. In fact, about it, you are going to see policemen shooting each other in the police stations when black police become overcome by the naked brutality that is going on their own people. One time, some brother is just going to lose his cool and blow the brains out of some white police officer in there. And I mean, it's going to start the stuff now. I mean, the seeds of revolution are all in the department. And your chief, if I may be so kind to say, being a very ignorant man, you know, has, and I mean, you can tell him that I said this. It's all right. It's all right. All right. But being the very ignorant man that he is, he has sown the seeds of self-destruction. And he's not by himself. This is going on all over the country. I just read in this morning's paper that 3 blacks were killed in New Orleans by the police because a young white officer was found bleeding and died by his automobile in the black section of New Orleans. 3 white police went out. I don't know how many white police went out, pardon me, but 3 black bodies showed up. And the police chief went on television with 3 pistols to show that these men were armed, and thereby justifying this murder. Brothers, you're in an awful position. I wouldn't want to be, I mean, my shoes is bad enough, but I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, because our people, when they erupt, that blue uniform places you with them, and they will not be able to make that distinction at that time, and many innocent black policemen are going to be killed right along with their white brothers, and they'll be forced to kill their own brothers just to stay alive. I mean, this is a sad thing that is going to happen. But my brothers, I would hope that in your, is it the Fraternal Order of Police here? Or is it the National Association of Black Police, Black Patrolmen, is it?
No, it's the National Black Police Association.
Okay.
For which the local chapter is the Afro-American.
Right. I would hope that you would work hard in recruiting the black officers and give them some sense of stability and direction. And hopefully some of this can be averted. But I am afraid that the die is already set. I may not have answered your question, but to the fullest extent that you may have wanted, but in the lack of a specific, I gave a general feel for police work across the country. That it is stepping up now. Some police departments are training in food riots. That's right. Because they already know that there's going to be widespread hunger. And when folk get hungry, you can't tell them, thou shalt not steal. The country is in for a terrible time in the next few years. And black people, being so dependent, are going to catch the brunt of it. But it's not so dark that there is not light emanating out of that darkness. And if it were not for you all and your presence, it would be much worse than it already is. So I would pray that you would stay and grow strong, even though you take an awful lot of abuse, you know, and you probably won't get to be a lieutenant until there's a major riot. Then they'll need a black lieutenant, and you may even get to be a black captain. Sad. Yes, sir.
I want to ask you, once those of us get into a position where we can help, in the struggle, not necessarily elected officials like me, but I'm talking about where we are in, and I'm looking at a young man who so much pressure was put on him that he had to quit his job because, well, they trump up everything on us. I'd like for you to just expound on something that we could hold on to, stick to it, and encourage each brother, that just like you told Sergeant Coleman, that it's going to be tough, but we're going to have to stay together. You understand? I'd like to hear you expound on how we can strengthen one another, in these kind of positions.
Yes, sir. My dear brothers, Judge Green was mentioning to me this morning about a Mexican-American girl who is in the media in this city. Elma Barrera. And when she gets into difficulty with the establishment, her people close ranks behind her and they get her through. They already have the basic wherewithal of community consciousness that we unfortunately do not have. And to the degree that we lack it, there are always going to be casualties that we can ill afford. The young person of whom you speak, it takes a lot of time to bring a young, beautiful mind up to serve us. And when that young, gifted person wants to go out and battle for us, as you have been battling for us for many years, and the rug is pulled out from under that young person, if we don't have a bosom for that person to fall in that we can close around him to give him the strength to go back, then not only do we kill that young one, but we stop others from even trying. Now, what kind of mechanism can we set up? It seems as though many different organizations are represented here this morning that need to communicate with each other. We need to share each other's hurts. We need to have these kinds of discussions where when a brother has served our community and something happens, we send a message to those who meet together. Let us close ranks behind this young man who lost his job. Let us say to the radio station that fired brother and used other, smoke screen tactics to justify what they really had in their mind. He's gone from the job. The community went to them, some members of the community, but we didn't have the economic lever to pull. See, this is the difference with us. I mean, we have money, but we don't spend our money to get leverage. White folks do. They spend their money in a black newspaper to get leverage in the newspaper. They spend their money on the black radio station to get leverage on that radio station. So the radio station manager doesn't want to offend the advertiser. But now if we said, look, man, we'll pull our ads, we'll do this unless brother goes back on. We don't like what you did to him. Then we got some leverage to put him back on. But if you're just going to have a picket sign and go back and forward, Whitey laughs at that. Because you can't hurt him with a picket sign unless now you have some effective boycott. And we're too disorganized to even effectively boycott a chitlin joint, even though we should. You see? So what I'm saying, I don't know how many strong black preachers do we have. We need to get those preachers with us in meetings, because if the preachers join you and a politician joins you and a judge and bankers and people of substance and police, and we close ranks behind any one person, I believe then they will see enough leverage here to say, well, look, let him through. But until we do that, we'll be picked off one by one, one by one. And our brother here has told me that you have been instrumental in his life and helping to groom him. And I want to say personally to you, we thank you, because this young man here is one of the most powerful young men that I've had an occasion to meet since I've been on the planet. Born in Houston. And I know that he'll be coming back here to expound. He's been all over the world. He's lectured all over the world. In South Africa, he has lectured. In Zimbabwe, he has lectured. In Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, he has lectured. In Europe. And he is a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but he also has gotten a master and a doctorate degree in this world's educational system and is having a divine degree conferred on him by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And he has been so magnificent in his work on the West Coast, if I may just say this, that the most worshipful master, the Grand Imperial Potentate, my Lord. Look out now. The Grand Imperial Potentate of the Noble Order of the Mystic Shrine heard this man teach a subject that he got from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the man, after hearing that exegesis of Scripture and that exposition of wisdom, said, what is there that I can teach you? And got up and offered this brother his chair. And the brother, being a student of the messenger and an humble man, would not sit in the imperial potentate's chair. And they have conferred on him 32nd, 33rd degree, and the noble order of the mystic shrine. Conferred it on him because of the wisdom that he gained from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So I'm saying that, thank you, brother. And I know you have to go, right?
I've got to go, but let me say this. I was telling Dr. Strength, I know it was Harold. We lost him in the Methodist Church, but we gained a leader
Yes,
that
sir.
we needed in a nation. I make this statement, and it came to me. Where it came from, I won't take the credit. But we lost a nation to integration.
Yes.
Because we were being trained like the Elijah Muhammad was training us, and we were about to come together. But this thing is coming back, and I can see it surfacing, and it's coming from the east, and that's what I like. I'm a fool like Judge Green. That's what I believe.
Can I go back down the hall? Sisters, I'm going to feel terrible, and I will not be able to fly back to Chicago in peace if I don't hear something from the sisters before this is over. Yes, sir, brother. Certainly, but feel if you're comfortable.
I'm from Albania, South Africa.
Yes.
I was very happy yesterday when I had to speak. When I was in Albania, we managed to get some records which had been smuggled through. Listen to the words of Malcolm X. And we were very much inspired by the youth. The situation was just like it is here today. Our elders had given up to the system. But when we heard Malcolm speak on the album, we realized that we could do something about it. So when I came in America, I was detained in South Africa, and I managed to escape. And I went through to Botswana. I was a refugee in Botswana. And then I was, quote unquote, rescued by the United Nations. And I was sent over here to be re-educated. When I came here, I was more exposed to the writings and the works of Malcolm X, and I read very extensively the few books that he wrote, and I had some more of his albums from my friends. And the only thing I missed in this country was to meet Malcolm. I really wish I could have seen him or at least met him. I've never been inspired like that in my life. But now that somebody is listening in the image of Malcolm X, I'm very privileged I'm very happy that I've seen it. In Tanzania today, people are in a state of confusion. But people in this country, black people in this country, they do not realize the relationship of the struggle between us in Southern Africa and us here in this country. There's a lot of brothers and sisters who came in with the epitome. That's true. I knew exactly how they feel to come over in America. They've read, they've seen a lot of television, Sidney Poitier, James Brown, and some other, Muhammad Ali, and some other renowned black artists who are TV performers and movie filmmakers. They were very happy, I know, to come over here because they expected that type of America which is portrayed on the films all the time. But I knew that just like I was shocked as well, I knew that they have the shortcomings, the struggle of the African people do not only end in South Africa, and Africans in America are not free as well. They are living in the same conditions that we used to live in when I was in South Africa. I'll give you an example. There is a white man called Donald Woods. Donald Woods went to the United Nations to testify about the death of my friend Steve Biko. I used to live with Steve Biko, but the white world would never let me testify about what Steve Biko did and how he died. Donald Woods became the authoritative figure outside who knew more about third world than I, who used to live, sit and eat and sleep with him and struggle and read, try to find the answer to our problem in the community. By saying this, I'm trying to make people aware that while people all over the world are one, today I am in third world with the rest of my brothers and sisters, and I'm very happy because I know this is where I'm more comfortable. Donald Woods today is living in a palace. He's living in London. He's a professor. He's been taken care of by his white community. He's living the best life ever. And he's waiting for South Africa to be free, to go back home and live the same life that he's living today. But with me, there's no change. I'm in the same boat. I'm saying this because I really feel sorry for the brothers and sisters, especially in Houston. They are really trying to understand where we are coming from. They do not know the forces of nature that surround them and how we're being controlled overall just because we come from the same continent. All our roots are from the same continent. They think that people from Africa, in fact, they use the very, I don't know what to say about this, but their excuse is very, very weak. First they will say, you have an accent. And I tell them that if you go to Africa, you have an accent too. And I tell them that if you pay a visit to New York from Houston, they will tell you you have an accent. So people are refusing, constantly refusing to try and see the reality that we want to come together. And it's only when we're united on that international basis that we can all be free. I have a question. I want you to know that, do you ever feel that people in this country, African people in this country, can never be free while we are still struggling to be free in Southern Africa? I might be wrong. I want your vision, the way you see the liberation of the African people in this country, do you see it as an independent of Africa, or independent of the Africans? And Africans in America are not free as well. They are living in the same conditions that we used to live in when I was in South Africa. I'll give you an example. There is a white man called Donald Woods. Donald Woods went to the United Nations to testify about the death of my friend Steve Biko. I used to live with Steve Biko, but the white world would never let me testify about what Steve Biko did and how he died. Donald Woods became the authoritative figure outside who knew more about Third World than I, who used to live, sit and eat and sleep with him and struggle and read, try to find the answer to our problem in the community. By saying this, I'm trying to make people aware that white people all over the world are one. Today, I am in Third World with the rest of my brothers and sisters, and I'm very happy because I know this is where I'm more comfortable. Donald Woods today is living in a palace. He's living in London. He's a professor. He's been taken care of by his white community. He's living the best life ever. And he's waiting for South Africa to be free, to go back home and live the same life that he's living today. But with me, there's no change. I'm in the same boat. I'm saying this because I really feel sorry for the brothers and sisters, especially in Houston. They really fail to understand where we are coming from. They do not know the forces of nature that surrounds them and how we're being controlled overall just because we come from the same continent or our roots are from the same continent. They think that people from Africa, in fact, they use a very, I don't know what to say about this, but their excuse is very, very weak. First they will say, you have an accent. And I tell them that if you go to Africa, you'll have an accent too. And I tell them that if you pay a visit to New York from Houston, they will tell you New York, you have an accent. So people are refusing, constantly refusing to try and see the reality that we want to come together. And it's only when we're united on that international basis that we can all be free. I have a question. I wanted to know that, do you ever feel that people in this country, African people in this country, can never be free while we are still struggling to be free in Southern Africa? I might be wrong. I wanted your vision, the way you see the liberation of the African people in this country. Do you see it as an independent of Africa or independent of the Africans? Or do you see us being independent on an overall? In South Africa today, we are waging an armed struggle. We're not fighting because we are angry. We're not fighting because we are vicious. We're fighting because after we have liberated some certain zones, we have to defend them. And our enemy is vicious in South Africa, is using arms. We have no choice but to use the same arms that they use against us to defend ourselves. We're fighting from a position of strength, of weakness, against a very strong enemy. We see our struggle in this way. The only thing that is going to take place from now on, America is having its own struggles with Russia, as we all know. But there is more danger which is being faced by this country. They fear the rise of the Africans within this structure. And it is only then that Russia and America come together as friends under SALT 1, SALT 2, SALT 3. That's a Caucasian race. They kiss each other's cheeks when it comes to their common enemy. But we Africans, we don't have any point where we try to bring that relationship. Malcolm did go to Africa, and he had an overall understanding of the forces of nature that affect African people, and he was very clear that people in this country will never be free until Africa starts to wage its own African revolution against the East and the West. But now I want to know, African people in this country, when we wage our African revolution to secure the continent against Russia, against America, where would the African brothers be in this country?
First of all, my brother, I know why you stood, and so I'm standing too for you. I'm deeply touched by your words, and I want you to sift our words very carefully. Part of the conditioning that black people in America have undergone is to destroy our connection to Africa. That has been done so well that when you come from home to your own kith and kin over here who look just like you, they look upon you in many respects as a stranger, and you are rejected of your own because you are African. This is because of the unenlightened condition of our people. If they were themselves, they would open their arms to receive you. And they would know, how can we be free and you not be free? Your struggle and our struggle is the same struggle. My dear brother, the 520 or more American-based corporations that exist in Azania, South Africa, she is being fed from here. If the head of the serpent is cut off, the tail will automatically die. Azania is not the head of the serpent. England is not the head of the serpent. America is the head of the serpent of colonialism and imperialism that crushes the hopes of black people all over the world. This is why she works night and day to keep black Americans oppressed, because if we rise up here and this beast here is crippled, you are freed there from the fall of this one here. Now, we see our struggle as one struggle, but we recognize that we cannot effectively help in the struggle of our brothers over there until we effectively extricate ourselves from the grip of their oppression here. For black people to look at Africa and say, yes, I think we should send a little aid over there to those poor, struggling Africans. That's sickness. That's like a man hanging from a tree saying, I think we should get him down. Brother, we are more enslaved in many respects than our brothers over there, because at least they know they got an enemy to fight, and we are here cohabiting with the enemy. You understand? So look, my dear and beloved brother, we are committed as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to the liberation of black people all over this planet. Wherever they may be found, we will not stop until all black people breathe free. The Bible talks about Moses growing up in Pharaoh's house, learning all of the wisdom of Pharaoh. But all Moses needed was a change of direction. And when he met with Jehovah in the burning bush, he decided to use all that Pharaoh had taught him, plus what Jehovah had given him, for the liberation of Israel. That's not in the Bible for conjecture. That's in the Bible to teach us a profound lesson. We in America have grown up in the house of the world leader. And in every branch of technology and engineering, science, medicine, and law, you will find several blacks who have mastered that technology, and many who have engineered that technology, hidden away in corporate America. All black folk in America need is to come home to themselves, and we would have enough knowledge among us to liberate ourselves and then send that expertise everywhere it's needed among black people. Now I'm going to close this point. It is true that America and Russia can have detente when they're thinking about crushing black people. But I hope to call to your attention the fact that after the First World War, and they had carved up Africa for the European nations, if you remember, they went to war again. White folks went to war with white folks over the spoils of that same continent. This beast don't care nothing about his own white brother. If there's some profit to be gained, then what I'm respectfully suggesting to you is that America and Russia are going to clash. It is the inevitable confrontation, and you are at the door of that confrontation right now. That's the only way God can take the two superpowers off the back of the people of the world. Yes, many millions and hundreds of millions will die, but Africa will be here, and so will we, brother, to pick up the pieces and rebuild this planet. These beasts are going to war. I mean, I could go further. This is all prophecy into our part in America when she goes to war. You don't worry about these over here. They're going to be all right. White folks are going to help them to be all right. I can promise you, brother, when they get finished killing us in the next few days, when the natural disasters that are sweeping America begin to cut off wheat production, food production, and Whitey has to go into his grain storage bins, he's not going to feed us first. He's going to feed himself first. That's right. And when those kind of hard times come, our people are going to pull away from white folks by the droves. You will live to see that, brother, if you just live 24 more months. We will be free. And Azania will be free. and our union will take place. And the brothers from here will be going there, and you from there will be coming here. We intend to link up all over the world in one great struggle against our enemies. The last point I would like to say to you, Malcolm X, whom I met when he came out of prison in 1950, he came out in 52, I think I met him in 53, in Boston. He was attempting to get me to be a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. At that time I was in show business, and he was a radical fella by reputation, and I wanted nothing to do with it. But later, about 2 years later, when I became a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm and I became very, very close. In fact, in his book, he wrote of me under the name Louis X that I was closer to him than his own flesh and blood brothers. Malcolm was the mouthpiece of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not a, what you would call, articulate man. Malcolm was gifted, beautiful speech. So Malcolm took the ideas of Elijah Muhammad and translated them for the world to hear them. Malcolm's message to the grassroots, is that the one you heard in? Yes. That was made when he was a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But when the record was put out, they deleted all reference to Elijah Muhammad. This is true. Malcolm, before his break from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, recognized that it was Elijah Muhammad's guidance that made Malcolm the world figure that he became. And what I'm suggesting to you, my brother, is not to take anything away from the greatness of Malcolm. But I think we need to look beyond the stars. I would like to make a personal gift to you today of the writings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I want you to read what he wrote that turned Malcolm on. And if you are turned on by Malcolm, which you well should be, then dig at the root of what turned him on, then you'll be in a greater position to turn on the brothers and sisters of Azania. Stephen Biko is dead, but he lives in you, and the struggle of Azania is in you, your sincerity, your commitment. Now all you need is to arm yourself with the knowledge of how to go back to Azania, or to feed into Azania information that will stir the people to greater heights of consciousness. My brother, many of our people who are revolutionaries come away from religion because they see religion as the tool that white folks use to oppress us. Therefore, you can't get too many revolutionaries to read the Bible. And in my judgment, that's a mistake. The Bible is the greatest manual for revolution that is present, if you know how to read it. Now, your people in Azania and my people here have been indoctrinated by the Christians into biblical understanding. And if you could take the books of Elijah Muhammad and see his exegesis of Scripture and learn how to use the Bible properly, you could take the very book that they used to enslave us and use that same book to free us. Stokely Carmichael, dear friend of mine, at one point didn't want nothing to do with religion. I said, look here, brother, you can't reach black people. You can't come to no black man talking black talk. Black people want to know, what did Jesus say about it? And if Jesus didn't say it's all right to love black, I ain't coming on that black stuff. And you can go around the South talking about waking up black people, and you can talk socialism, you can talk any ism you want to. If you don't come out of that Bible, you done lost 90% of black people in this country. So the key, in my judgment, to getting Houston awake is understanding that Bible and unloosing the seal of that book. And my brother's going to come back here in a couple of weeks with God's help to join with our brothers and do that for you. So I'm going to make a gift of you of those books, my brother, and I want you to study them. And if you would you please let us stay in touch with each other. Yeah, are you a student here? What is your major, please?
Telecommunications.
Telecommunications. Very good, brother. Very good. How soon do you think? Well, I guess you wouldn't be able to get back home until it's liberated, huh?
Going to assist liberate.
Very good. Very good. Now I think we will close this with the next two expressions. And then, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3. Sister? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a comment on something that I heard you speak of on last evening. When you made mention that Houston was nothing but a plantation city. I totally agree with you on that. I call it a cowboy city. Due to the fact that a lot of our brothers and sisters here in the city seem to feel that unless they live in the southwest area of town or the outer perimeters, they are not considered, say, people of distinct in the community. They want to get away from the inner city, but the white man is coming back to the inner city, which is the heart of everything, and renovating and putting skyrocket prices on apartment complexes, as well as putting up toy townhouses and selling them from $90,000 up, which we cannot afford. The black people in the ghetto right now, they're going to be faced with it's sad to think of what will happen to the brothers and sisters in the community today. And I hear a lot of black brothers saying, well, hey man, I don't want to stay in the third ward. You know, I'm going to stay out here in the Southwest where the money is with the white folks. When, in essence, what they're doing, like you said, following instead of trying to get up off their rocks and do something on their own. And I just wanted to make that statement and to let you know that I was aware of what is happening in the city. And I myself still live in Third Ward and will continue to live there, regardless of whatever happens. And I have enjoyed the third.
Thank you, sister. This is a pattern going on all over the country, moving black people out of the inner city. And it's a very effective thing. I mean, they took over the Georgetown area of Washington, D.C. I mean, just moved the black folks out. They're moving them out of Harlem now. I mean, that used to be exclusively ours. I mean, but they know what they're doing. And the moment they move us out, they come right in, just like Sister said, build up high-rise condominiums and charge exorbitant prices, knowing you can't pay it. And they're bringing their folk right back into the cities and pushing us out further and further away from city life. But all of this is going to backfire, sister, as you soon will see. All of it will backfire. It's like Whitey pushed the Indians off on the reservation and then found out that the last places in America where there are oil reserves is right where they pushed the Indians. Now they're trying to push them off of that. Yes, my brother.
I'm Brother Robert, and I do a bit of research in history. I spent a lot of my time doing that, and I ran across a bit of information just recently that hooked up with something that's been on my mind, and that is our self-definition. We have seen where we've gone through phases of being Negroes, nigger, colored, black, Afro-American. And then something happened where we reverted from Afro-Americans back to black American. It kind of rose up for a couple of years, but went back to the common phrase of the black American. When the word Afro mostly has a relationship to hair. And I could see the development in this where it should have led to African, just the word African American. Just as though Chinese or Japanese in this country use the term for tactical reasons, Japanese American, Chinese American, but among themselves, they'll speak of themselves as that. And the bit of history that I read upon was the Ethiopian-Italian conflict. And Brother Sterling Means is the author of the book, Ethiopia and its missing links in African history. And he mentioned how during the invasion of Ethiopia by Mussolini, that black folks, African Americans in this country came together in such a rapid manner that it scared white folks almost to death. If they had done that, that may have been fine, but it wasn't enough. And I see where they learned from that not to let us hook up, along with other reasons, with the continent due to the inevitability of their expansion into the continent for resources and so forth. And they passed a law, voted on a bill that prohibited brothers from this country from enlisting to fight in foreign wars. Because brothers from this country were organizing to go to Ethiopia if necessary to fight the Italians. This is something I hadn't seen in any history books. And this book was written in 1945. And it's just been republished. And it helped me to understand a lot of things clearly. But I still see some confusion on our parts as to what do we call ourselves when we leave here to go to the continent of Africa? What do we say? We're African Americans, Negroes, Black Americans, understanding that we're black, but what word
Okay.
Balalian is all, there's different words, and I'm just wondering, can you help me be clear on what we can use tactically and whatever's necessary?
I see we have a blackboard back here.
Yes, sir. Can you do this?
Now, I think you raised a very wonderful question. And we could be here another year. That's the truth. Just dealing with identity. Just dealing with identity. But I would like to share with you some of that which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us on that. Now, brother, I'd like to hear your question. Maybe we can put them all together and then close it up. Sister, you have something to say?
Well, I'd like to say that I am elated and honored to be in your presence and to be in and for once to be a minority among so many young black men. This is indeed an honor for me. I also have a question on what do you foresee as the future of our public school system? I'm the parent of the mother of a 14 and 13-year-old whom I've always tried to instill some racial pride and tell them about their heritage. Yet I find with one in particular, it gets them into a lot of trouble. When he goes to school and he can recognize that his teachers are racist and being, having maybe one or two token black teachers, when he can recognize that his teachers are racist and has been so bold as to tell them so, this has gotten him in a lot of trouble, and recently got him expelled from school 3 days. So what do you see? We cannot afford to send our kids to private school. I'm not sure that that's the answer for it anyway. But what do you see for the future of our black kids in the public school system?
Okay. And my brother.
I want to say something, Mr. Farrakhan, and I also want to ask you a question. What I want to say first is that I used to be a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad up until the day he left us, February 25th, 1975. And the reason I'm not a follower now is because after he left us, I was confused just like many other brothers and sisters were. And hopefully one day we can reorganize and get it back together so brothers and sisters like me who used to be a part of the Nation of Islam can come back and learn more about the teachers. I also like to say, I sincerely believe that if it hadn't been for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that I wouldn't even be here today. I'd probably be dead because I used to do some of those same things that you talked about. And I knew a lot of brothers and sisters that were dope fiends, that were pimps, that were hustlers, who became dignified people. And after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad left, I don't know what happened, but someone went back to doing some of the things they were doing in their life, but some of them continue to be dignified people. So I just wanted to say that. And my question is, recently I've been hearing reports over the news and special editions on television about the KKK and the Communist Party in the U.S. not just reorganizing, but like there are supposed to be places here in the state of Texas where the KKK actually have training camps set up to go out and attack black folks, to destroy black folks. Now, I know what I probably would do if the KKK broke loose, but I would like to know. My question is, how can black people prepare themselves for this type of attack, which can happen right now, anytime? Oh, excuse me.
Okay. Well, we have 3 to wrap it up. Everybody all right?
Yes, sir.
Sister, I want to say that this has never been our school system. It has always been theirs. And they permit us into it to manage and control our children and to make them pliant and acquiescent to their system and their order of things. What you are trying to teach your beautiful little black babies is that which will cause them to have some degree of mental freedom from the madness that's going on in the school. And that puts your child into clashes with the teacher. And at that young age, the teacher has many artful ways of crushing your child. If you notice in the school system, the girls advance much more readily than the boys. And the boys may start off in the school with great promise. And by the time they reach the 8th grade, we see a diminishing of their talents and abilities, while the girls are steadily moving on. I'm not saying that there's not a negative effect on the girls, but that negative effect is seen most in black male children. In Malcolm's autobiography, Malcolm said that he aspired to be a lawyer. And when he told his teacher that he wanted to be a lawyer, his teacher told him, "Oh, Malcolm, you know, certainly white people won't hire a black lawyer, and your own people won't have confidence in you as a black lawyer, so you should go and try to be a carpenter." See? That is what we call in symbolic language sticking a needle in your child's brain.
That's right.
The same thing happened to me. I wanted to be a doctor. I played the violin as a young boy. So I used to play at the school all the time. So the teacher says, "Oh, Louis." Same thing. White folk will never come to you as a doctor. And your own people won't trust you to be a doctor. So, but you do play the violin beautifully. If she were alive, I'd like to send her my record. White Man's Heaven is a Black Man's Hell. She could really hear me play the violin and lay something on her brain. But I'm saying to you, my dear sister, that this educational system is designed to destroy your children. So the public school system, as you soon will see it, breaking out into revolution, fighting and clashing between the races right in the school. You're going to have to be forced at some point to bring your children out of it, and we're going to be forced to set up
That's right.
a school system of our own. After all, if white folks say that we are free, one of the first steps of a free people is to avail themselves of that freedom by taking the reins of education of their children into their own hands. I believe that we can make a better product of our children than all the public schools combined because we love them.
That's right.
And we can fashion a curriculum for our children where they will have reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they'll have history from our perspective, and we won't be learning it from their perspective. They'll see life through our eyes, and there'll never be an IQ test that they will fail because we are rearing our children. We are educating them. And I tell you, frankly, we also, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, we need to write the textbooks that our children read. These textbooks are full of poison that you will never see as it goes into your child, but later on you see the effect of it on your children. So, my dear sister, that young son of yours is rebelling now. You see? They've expelled him for 3 days. Pretty soon they're going to say he's a functional illiterate, or he can't learn, or he's what's the other word they use?
Incorrigible.
Incompetent or incorrigible or retarded. And then they'll suggest that he take some kind of pills because he's hyper. You understand? And that little boy is a giant and a great potential for us, but they intend to kill it now. And by 15, they hope that he'll be out in the streets, so they'll run him through the criminal injustice system. So that before they can get to the good judge to get some justice, they will be so mangled. Please protect that young boy with all of the strength and knowledge that God bless you to have, and fight for him against those beasts who would make you think the boy is no good. All strong black youngsters will fight against a wicked teacher in a classroom. I did it. And my own mother took me up there, and that devil lied to my mother about me. And my mother was the one that didn't take no nonsense. And I thought sure that my mother was going to hit me. But if she had hit me that day, I believe I would have hurt her. I believe that, because I was just that violent. I want to kill the teacher. And I thank God that he spared me from taking that out on my mother, because the teacher was a rotten liar and figured that mother would hear him before she heard me. And luckily, when I got home and explained the situation to my mother, she understood. But I'm telling you, this is a terrible educational system. And like this brother has started it, we need to funnel monies so he can expand it and get a grammar school and a high school, and take our teachers that got teacher certificates and no jobs, and open up these churches that only open up once a week, and open up their basement and put children in there and let them school teachers teach them. And you make a vow that instead of buying a nickel bag of reefer, you put that $5 toward the education of your children. And don't you know, in every congregation in Houston, if the people just took the, look here, how much is cigarettes?
Dollar.
65 cents. 65 cents to a dollar.
65 to a dollar, and you smoke a pack a day. If you cut out cigarettes, and you could save that $7 and the nickel bag of reefer, and you, oh, some of them,
What nickel bag of
what?
Takes a long time.
Inflation done got the reefer. No. Well, you see, I've been out of it a long time. But what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we throw away so much money, and that money could aid in paying teachers' salaries and educating our children. And I'll tell you, white folks will have more respect for us when we recognize the value of education and stop the miseducation of our children. Okay. Now, to you, I'm going to use that as the last one. Okay. To my brother, his question was,
How do we prepare this cake?
how do we prepare, you know? Well, it's like a man that knows ultimately he's going to go to war. I can't stand up and say certain things to you that are natural. You know what I mean? If a man smack you on your cheek, see, this ain't to turn the other cheek time. You get his cheek. A man come after you with a machete, got to deal with him. And if you see war coming, then study war. Don't say I ain't gonna study war no more. Wait till the enemy is dead, then say I ain't gonna study war no more. I mean, I just don't want to talk too much on those kind of things. You know, because, see, what happens is, well, in these kind of meetings, you know, Satan always comes.
That's right.
He's always present. And I don't want him to say that Farrakhan was out here teaching black folk to become violent. I'm teaching brothers and sisters to survive. And that should tell you whatever the situation calls for, you should be equal to the situation. And let me tell you something, there ain't no clan that damn dumb. They come in our community with that foolishness. And I'll bet you they won't leave like they came in, not unless all of us are going to turn punk overnight. And I don't think I'm looking at them kind of brothers. Am I? No, and they know that too. They listen, you can't even push a coward but so far. And I think as cowards, we've been pushed to the point now of no return. No, this black man will raise more hell in this country than they've ever seen. And I would suggest to the United States government that a dissatisfied cat on the inside of your house is more deadly than a lion on the outside. And when Russia started moving into Afghanistan and they think she's going to move into Iran or into the Persian Gulf, and this man is threatened with war on all sides, it would be terrible for him to alienate 30 million people on the inside of his house. Right. Suppose there's revolution while war is going on at the same time. How in the heck can you fight at home and abroad? Try it sometime. I guess we have. All right, now this question of identity. It's a big question, but I'm going to try to hit it quick. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that when white folks brought us to America and called us this, they had a very definite reason for saying that. This word Negro comes from a Greek word, necro. Coming up into the Latin, it's N-E-C-R-O. So the Latin C is interchangeable with the Greek K, and that's interchangeable with the English G. So in Latin you have this prefix, necrology, necromancy, all of these words where you have necro, you're dealing with something that is dead. That's right. This means dead, this means dead, this is dead. All right? Dead how? They say, well, no. Negro means black in Spanish. That's right. But if I call you black in English, you bust me in my mouth. But I can call you Negro in Spanish and everything is all right? Something's wrong. So if you look at the language, negro is used in Spanish when you're dealing with an inanimate object. Negro zapato, black shoe. Why? Negro, because it's inanimate. The shoe ain't going nowhere unless a living foot is in it. So when they say you are Negro, they're saying that you are inanimate. You have no life in you. You are an object that must be moved because you are unable to move yourself. That's right. All right. Now, in the West, they gave us the word Negro. They gave us the word colored. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad killed that by giving us the understanding of it. And he used the term so-called Negro to inspire you to think, why so-called? And he also killed this, colored. He said that colored is the past participle of the verb to color, which means you have been changed from your original state. In essence, you've been changed somewhat, but the essence of you is the same as you were when you lived in Africa tens of thousands of years ago. So you're not colored. You have never been changed from your original state. You still the same. But there is a colored man on scene. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad introduced the term black to us for a very definite reason. People don't go around on this earth, intelligent people, drawing reference to their color. You don't find Chinese saying, I am the yellow man.
That's right.
Color me yellow. Or the brown man say, I am the brown man. They don't talk like that. They either say, I'm Chinese, I'm Japanese, I'm Mexican, I'm this, I'm that. You don't even find the Indian say, I am the red man, I am Indian. Right? But why do we say, I'm a black man? I mean, that should be evident. Why do we have to say it? See, there's a psychological reason why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used it. That's not your identity, black. But here, white folks had so made this a badge of shame and dishonor that we were running from our color to accept to be identified with something that was not ourselves. So in using black, he was bringing us back to root in ourselves. But he didn't use the term African. He didn't. Now, here's the term African. All right? Now, Africa is a continent. So the white man, you can say he's a European. Or the other one is Asiatic. Or this is a North American. But if you say you are an African, then you're dealing with the continent. All right? But how did the continent get its name? If this Africa comes from Africanus, a European conqueror and an explorer, then that's not a legitimate name. When you call yourself Afro-American, that's just cheap. Whitey didn't want you to use African American because he didn't want you to identify with Africa, so he threw Afro on you. But look, we existed before Africa was called Africa. And we certainly existed before Americus Vespucius came over here and this country was named America. So that don't identify you because you were before the identity that you have assumed, but you always been black. Huh? All right now. Now look at this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the whole earth at one time was called Asia. And if you go look at all the old maps, Europe wasn't called Europe, it was called Eurasia. Africa wasn't called Africa, it was Asia. This part over here was called West Asia. And the original inhabitants of the earth, there was no brown man. There was no yellow. There was no red. There was no white. There was just you, the natural inhabitant, not of Africa, but of 196,940,000 square miles of the earth. And the best part of this earth is that part that they call today Africa. The rich Nile Delta coming from Lower Egypt, or Upper Egypt, all the way down into Uganda. That was the feeding ground of the whole world. And that heartland, what you call the Arabian Peninsula, all in there, that is where the black man civilized and brought civilization to the world from that part. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that we are Asiatic black men. He don't mean that we are Asiatic in the continental sense. Asiatic in the sense that we are the natural rulers and owners, not of no little continent. We are the natural rulers and owners of the entire earth. Now ask the white man, when did he get here? And who did he find when he got here? Go back and get the history of the brown man, the yellow man, and they are Johnny-come-latelys on our planet. We know when they got here because we are their father. So hell, the book tells you, honor your father and your mother that your days may be long in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And we are the gods that gave the white man time and a place on the earth. And that's why they want to keep you dumb and dead, because as long as you are dumb and dead, you segment yourself over here. Well, I'm a North American, I'm a West Indian, I'm a Cuban. Hell no, the earth is yours. And until you wake up and understand that the whole question of the war today is who's going to live on the earth? Who's going to own and rule the earth? And the earth is coming back into the hands of its original owner, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the ending. It was all black in the beginning, and it's going to be all black in the ending. Take it or let it alone. All these in-between colors is getting off the planet within the next 1,000 years. They all will be gone. Whitey is going almost immediately. I mean, I'm not jabbing. No. This is serious business.
Right.
The Chinese don't have no history longer than you. Do you know you go to China, the original people that lived there, black as night? Tell me I'm lying. Go to India, the original man that lived in that what do they call that continent? That they call it Yeah, Indian subcontinent. Black. Go to the Isle of Nippon, which they call Japan. Man, they got black people. I mean, the original Japanese. Black.
That's right.
Go look at them Eskimos, man. You looking at you. No, brother, Whitey can't pull that stuff on us today. We have been made wise by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we're not going to be turned fools no more. The same pyramid that is in Egypt, you find its replica right down there in Mexico. And the head of a black man with big, thick lips looked like he come from the Congo.
Old man.
That's right. That's right.
You are the father of civilization. Why did Napoleon shoot the nose off the Sphinx?
Jealous.
Come on.
Not just jealous, he trying to hide you from yourself. Here's a big foreboding thing sitting out in the desert. Whitey don't know how it got there. He see the pyramids, all these blocks of stone symmetrically placed on each other. He said, how did they do it? That's why he called it the first wonder of the world. Because when he got here, it was already here, and he wondered how it happened. Understand? All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's beautiful. Now, with the term Bilalian, Imam Ward-ad-Din Muhammad wanted to get us away from black because he didn't like this term. But I would suggest that we should never throw away black until humanity is restored, because that's the only thing we have as a common denominator to pull us together. If we don't think that this is my black brother, and you throw that away and Whitey ain't throwing away white, hey brother, you put yourself at a disadvantage, and now you run around calling yourself a minority. So you've gotten rid of one badge of inferiority, and you allowed the man to give you a numerical inferiority. I am a minority. Keep on saying it and see how it debilitates you. I am a minority. Yes, we're the minority. Just keep saying it. Psychologically, you're weakening yourself. You are not no minority. You are the majority. You outnumber white folks 11-1 on this. So what the hell you look like telling people you're a minority? You're only a minority when you think like a minority. All right. Bilalian, he took that from the first muezzin of Prophet Muhammad, Bilal. Bilal was an Ethiopian. Well, then why not say Ethiopian? Don't name a people after a man. People get their national identity from some land mass. And what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was saying was the land mass is the whole earth. It belongs to you. But you didn't know that it belonged to you. In fact, you don't have not a square inch right now that you can call your own. And that's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when we became students enrolled as his followers, he said, what is the square mileage of the earth? How much is the land? How much is the water? We had to break it down. We had to know the square miles of deserts, the square miles of islands, all of that. Because the earth belongs to you, and you should know real estate, your deeds, you know what I mean, your boundaries, when you get ready to take it over. Whitey know his lease on this earth is up, and that's why he's running. They're running him out of Africa. Don't you let that Woods come back there and live. When we get clean in Azania, kick him out. And you notice, the minute Whitey gets kicked out, the brothers change the name. Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. That's a sign of your independence. You name it what you know it should be named. So, brother, don't let Whitey come back there. Drive that cat into the sea. In fact, I'm a little disturbed with Brother Mugabe, tell you the truth. I got to tell you, man, you don't win no revolution and then get to the end and this punk out. No, go all the way. When you start war, damn it, don't stop until everything you want is in your hand, or don't start it at all. You don't start to get to no doggone negotiating the table and negotiate away the rights of the people that fought for you just because you want to keep some scroungy whites in your country. You a doggone fool. Fight and kill every last one of them until the earth is free.
That's right.
And then set up your own government where you don't have to compromise. And if we don't have the technological skill, then hell, we'll just go on back and beat the ground till we get it together.
Right. Yes.
You don't need no white man. We got to hold the white man on, keep him here. That's what's wrong with brothers in Africa. You too damn weak on this white man because you got love in your heart for your enemy. And you got to get it out of you. And that's why I suggest read them books of Elijah Muhammad, because he is the devil all over the earth. And when you start running the devil, you don't stop. You run him into the sea, because that's what he intended to do for you and me. That's right. There is no compromise with the enemy. None whatsoever. And those of you who compromise will die on one side of the fence or on the other. Either your black brother will kill you or the white man will kill you, because we're not going to have no neutral, Negro, neutral gender in the struggle for black liberation. That's all. Look what y'all put in the coffee? Brothers and sisters, I didn't mean to get carried away.
That's okay.
I love you, and may Allah bless you all. Sisters, the only thing that I'm disturbed about, honest to goodness, is that nobody asked me what the place of the woman is. Because you hear so much about women in Islam. But I just want you to know, sisters, your place is right beside us. Whatever gifts, talents, abilities you have, possess, you must develop those talents, those abilities, to use it for the uplift and betterment of a whole people. Remember that with a woman, the home is her base, not necessarily her place. Her base. Now, you're never going to be a happy woman unless home economics is developed. This is a lost art among us. We know how to sew, we know how to type, we know how to be nurses, but we don't know how to be wives and mothers, husbands and fathers. This is a lost thing. We got to come back to basic things. No woman doctor is happy if her love life is ruined. I mean, you can't say that you can be a good judge if your personal life ain't together. Things that disturb you at home may affect an important decision that you're making on somebody's life. So good male-female relationships represent the cornerstone of a successful national development. Good, strong male-female relationship. And it starts with the institution of marriage, which should never be marriage based on beauty. That's good, it has its place. Marriage based on he's fine, he's handsome, Oh, he's cute. Cat don't work. He got no job. Marriage shouldn't be on the form of a woman. Marriage should be on the substance of each other. All right? You call it, when you're going together, they call it courting, right? And the main word there is court. C-O-U-R-T.
That's right.
The judge understands what I'm saying. When somebody comes into court, they bring evidence and witnesses, and the evidence is examined and cross-examined. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to me, the greatest teacher that ever lived, if it were not for his teaching my wife, I would be in bad shape today. I don't have a wife that fights me. I don't know what it's like to have a wife to just get up arguing with me in the morning. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just can't. I don't have that experience. You know, I'm not saying my wife and I don't argue, but I mean, it ain't none of the crazy things. You know, I hit that girl once in 27 years, and she hit me back, and that was the last time I hit that sister. That woman hit hard.
Now, just say one question while you
Yes,
talk
sir.
to the ladies.
Yes, sir.
I heard one of your speeches at the National Bar Convention, and when you told the ladies that they don't give back a sperm, they give back life, and I thought that was real something in your speech that.
Yes, sir. That they receive the sperm,
Right.
and they give back life. You don't give back what you get. That's your nature. Your nature is to take something and embellish it, develop it. That's why when you don't have women in government, when you don't have women in education, when you don't have women in business, you're missing a part of you that can add and embellish any idea you got. You know? So look, dear brothers and sisters, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad caused my wife to help me to grow to be a man. It takes a woman to help us to become a man. She can cut you down with her tongue quick. Women search you to find where you're weak. And when you think you're getting strong, they lay it on you. Mop, mop, mop. And you ain't got no comeback, so you roll up your sleeve and get right in her mouth. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught the sisters how to encourage his manhood without destroying it. It's very, very important. And I tell you, I've been married to the same woman for 27 years. And before that, we went together 5 years. So this 32 years with one woman. And I ain't thinking about enough. I'm just speaking the truth. Now, I know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was at the core of that. I would go home. My wife didn't give me no TV dinners. She was taught that the health and well-being of that home starts in that kitchen. And that is like the medicine cabinet, is the food that you bring in that house and how you prepare that food for your family. I think every woman that wants a good, strong home must be a homemaker, and then from there, that is if that's what you want, you branch out to do all those great things that you want to do in society. Now, I guess we've just about
Mr. Farrakhan,
done it.
I just want to know one thing. I used to listen to you over the radio every Sunday in Buffalo, New York.
Yes, sir.
I wonder, is it possible for me to order some of those old tapes that you did? For instance, like the Black Woman Part 1, 2, and 3. You know, or Yaku, or, you know, I would like to get a hold of some of those old tapes.
Yeah.
And order something.
To be very honest, I have to find them. well, if you come to my house, you walk all through my house, you never see a picture of me. I don't even keep a scrapbook. If somebody else doesn't take the things that are written of me and organize it and put it together, I will never do that. I guess it's a fault or weakness, you know. But even all the work that I've done musically, I just can't seem to put my hand on all my recordings that I did when I was somebody else. So there are brothers who have all the tapes. I think Brother Minister Raymond may have all of the broadcast tapes here. And there's another brother in New York that has them. What we're going to do is collect them together. And any tape out of that library, in fact, we're making a library for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We're collecting together all of his tapes, all of the films on him, all of his writings, to make a library so that people who want to study the Honorable Elijah Muhammad can go and do this. So, brothers and sisters, we've been here quite a while. It's been most enjoyable. I hope that you will stay together and work together to build black people in Houston, because the promise of black people in Houston is tremendous. You are so rich in Houston, it's just like putting your hand down in rich black earth and coming up your hands full, and you go back down and get another whole handful. That's the richness that's in the people of Houston, and that should not go untapped. May Allah bless you and keep you and preserve and protect you until we meet sometime again, hopefully. Assalamu alaikum.
As the minister is leaving, let me say this. I will be calling on some of you because we want to have a return visit. And this time we are hoping to present him to the Houston population free of charge. So please be aware that we will be calling on you. And there are tapes and writings available today if you would like to get some of those things that are available. Also, one final request. Please, let's not hear the tape of this meeting on the radio as we drive home. I would hope that we could hold off. That's right. Please don't do that. This was an informal meeting. You have had an opportunity to do something that I think many, many other persons would want to do. So please let us not take it back so that the world can hear it, but regurgitate it to our brothers and sisters only. Thank you.